So today what we're going to be doing is reviewing the Yamaha MT-07 Tracer. You've definitely seen this on the channel before. It is owned by the one and only Kev Cobb, who's standing over there videoing me. But what we're going to do is take this through its paces and I'll let you know what I think. So we are on the Yamaha Tracer 700, it's a 2017 model, and to get right into it, the ergonomics are comfortable. I've ridden this before and I'll probably use some footage from that ride, and I found it uncomfortable then, but I think that was more the fact I'd been out for the day and my back was sore, and I probably didn't have myself sitting very good. Because this time now I'm out and I'm comfortable on it. Now that said, over long distance I maintain I think the seat is the wrong one for a tall rider, but I don't think it'll be an issue with someone who's, you know, anyway shorter than me, even, you know, 6'2" and under, say. I think this would be perfect. The bars, the controls and everything else are comfortable. Again, the only thing that I still have an issue with on, it seems to be a lot of modern bikes, is the hazard indicator. I'm going to try to reach it here. You know, it's like, it's not in an ergonomically well placed position. I have to actually look for it, reach for it. I'm sure I would get used to it eventually, but it's just not in a good position. The bars, I do like the bars. And there goes my bike. But I do like the bars. I do like the dash. Ergonomically, the dash is excellent. You know, I can see a lot. And the gear indicator is pleasant. I've never wanted a gear indicator. I've never felt like I've missed a gear indicator. But it is nice. But switch gear, all that stuff, the switch gear is a lot, how to put it, kind of lower profile than what I have on the Phaser. So it's a kind of newer Yamaha switch gear, say. And the pegs are wider pegs, etc. I do like the switchgear. I like how it looks, I like how it feels, and it's easy to get to everything except the hazard light. Seat, like I said, it is comfortable, but I don't think long distance wise it would be for a human of my stature. Definitely not. But the bars, the pegs position, you know, my knees are, they're a lot less bent than they are on the Phaser. And the throttle feels good. So from an ergonomic perspective, the actual throttle throw is quite nice. Mirrors are kind of what you'd expect. Not easy to see out of, like most new mirrors, I suppose. But they're usable. So from an ergonomic perspective, I don't think it's the perfect bike for a taller rider. But everything's nice, you know, so seat position is good. I can see a lot. I like how my arms are kind of in a nice neutral position. That's one thing that's really nice, is it's made for kind of long distance riding. And the screen does offer a nice bit of protection. Now it's buffeting me slightly, but again, that's kind of a I'm tall issue more than anything else. So ergonomics are good, we'll leave it at that. Power and torque. So the power on this bike is lovely. Myself and Kev on the way out here, we were doing some 0 to 100 races, and the Phaser, weirdly enough, was actually quicker off the line every time. And it's probably just rider skill, you know. But this pulled it back. Each and every time this pulled it back. Up to 100. It had beat me, he'd pass me at maybe 80, and then he'd be gone. Now I'd pull it back in the higher end, but that's just because I have more brake horsepower. But like you can see here now, I'm leaving this in fourth, and it pulls from really, really low in the rev range. It's lovely. I'll put the power and torque figures on the screen now. But again, I'm not much into figures, I'm more into how they feel on the bike. And the power for this bike is lovely. It's just it's just really easy to ride, and I think that's this power unit, the kind of renowned power unit now that's on the MT-07, the Tracer 700, and now also the Tenier 700. It's just a lovely power unit. It's smooth, it's bitey when you want it to be. It's just really, really, really nice, has to be said. It's a lovely power unit. I think you know, better people than me have talked about this power unit in the past. There's not a whole pile I can say about it other than it's lovely. The gearbox is also very, very nice. It's smooth up and down through the gears. There's no catchiness in it, you know, which I have accused the Phaser of in the past, for instance, of being a bit catchy on certain gears. But this gearbox is buttery smooth up and down through the gears. It's lovely. Really, really impressed with this bike overall, and it is my second time riding it, so I can't call this a true first ride perspective, say, but I will, as I said, I will filter in stuff from before. So the power and torque are on point. I really like the low down torque. I am a person who enjoys torque. This bike will pop wheelies absolutely no problem if you wanted to, you know, and just clicking up and down through the gears there now, it is really, really nice. So the power unit, extremely impressive. That's a filthy road. Look at that view. Bonus view to bike review. But the other thing that we kind of have to talk about with power and torque is handling. So this bike, it does handle nice, right? But it definitely feels looser than the Phaser. It's because it's a taller bike, but I wouldn't hold that against it, you know. It is what it is. It still feels very planted on the road. Definitely looser, but that's just because of its height, you know. It has a fairly commanding seat height of 800 plus millimeters off the ground, and the pegs are nicely down low and stuff, and you know, when you lean it, you do feel like you're gonna, well, when you're as tall as I am anyway, you feel like you're gonna tip over a little bit till you get used to it. And after that, if you don't like that feeling, you can just crouch and it's absolutely fine. But the handling, the bike it's really, really neat and tidy. You'd expect no less, you know, from a bike like this, a Yamaha Tracer. Yamaha know what they're doing, but out of corners, just the handling out of corners like that is absolutely beautiful. So handling, you know, you have your normal, fairly narrow shocks up front. I think they're 41 mils. Single shock on the back, or forks in the front, I should say. Single shock in the back, and it's just a well-appointed bike. The frame on this bike is gorgeous. It's just really well tied together all around. And that brings us on to a bit of a brake test. Do here. So the brakes, they're not sports bike brakes by any means. They're nice. They're nice brakes. They feel, there's a really good feel to them, and that's kind of what I always look for in bikes like this, is the feel of the brakes. So like into this corner, you know, I have confidence. Slam on the brakes, drop down a gear, sling it around the corner, and just go. And then I can stop down again here. You know, you can absolutely hang on these brakes and they will stop you. Overall, I think the main thing on the brakes, you know, you have the single disc on the back, you have the double disc with 4-pot calipers on the front. But they're just really, they're very, very good brakes. Nothing major about them. Ooh. And now we're at Old Head, which I've been to before. Video, link up in the description or something. So like I was saying, the brakes on this bike, you know, double disc up the front, 4 calipers, very similar to what's on the Phaser actually, and the single disc on the back. But the brakes, the feel of them is excellent, I have to say. Those brakes are a bit more bitey, but it's hard to compare them because I've actually put on a braided stainless steel line onto it. I think adding that to this bike would actually add a lot of feel, even more feel, and a bit more bite to it, because you do get that little bit of travel and then it brakes. So it's, but that said, you know, they stop you quickly. They do what they're supposed to do. Aesthetically, hi Kev, and this is Kev's bike, so thank you very much for letting me ride it, Kev. But aesthetically, I really like this bike. I think the setup is very nice. One thing Kev added, which I think does fill out the front, and it's something we've discussed actually at length, the Givi fog lights. The Givi fog lights that Kev has added, they just kind of fill out the front that bit more, and make it look kind of more meaner adventure. You know, it just makes it look like a bigger bike. I think without them, the front can look that a little bit empty, which is I think why Kev added them as well. But other than that, you know, the fairings, they're really, really nice. You know, I do like the fork design. It's simple. Would upside down forks have helped this bike a bit? Probably. But I don't have any issue with these ones. They look fine and they do the job fine. And it has quite a long travel suspension, so upside downs might have drawn that down a bit, which, you know, would have been kind of against what Yamaha were trying to do. Like I said, the frame is beautiful. It handles lovely and it looks lovely. You know, engine casings are really nice. You don't need to add protection to these out of the bat, because they're actually quite well protected if you put on engine bars. And I think engine bars add to the bike as well. You know, you have your protectors here. Everything from factory looks nice. Passenger pegs are removable quite quickly, but I don't think they fit in well with the bike. I wouldn't ever bother removing them. And then obviously the rear swing arm, you know, everything now modern bikes wise, swing arms have gone kind of designery, and I'm going to compare it to the Phaser in a second, but I really, really like the shape and form of that rear swing arm. And as a comparison to why, you know, on a kind of older bikes, you have this, essentially it's a section of box iron. And not that it looks bad, it just looks boring, you know. You can kind of see how Yamaha have advanced, because the Tracer is kind of this bike's sort of its bigger brother, you know, or younger brother, I suppose you'd say. But it is, they share a lot of similarities throughout. That said, this frame is nice, you know, but after that they kind of forgot about everything else. The subframe, straight pole section bars and everything else, and a bit of box iron. Whereas when you go back to here, you know, while the subframe is still a straight tubular bar, it's hidden by all this really nice detail work, really, you know, classy looking grab handles that don't fill back in, so they just look that bit cooler. And then all your trim pieces, and obviously, like I said, the kind of styled rear swing arm. So then just a quick talk about cost. The cost of this bike, and I would usually take off my helmet and do a bit of a talk, but it's cold, so I'm going to leave it on. For example, the cost of this bike Kev got it with essentially no mileage, so it's not even worth mentioning. And it cost him €8,000. That bike over there, with I think it was close to 20,000 kilometers, definitely under it, so still nothing. That cost me 3.5. But you get a lot more with this bike, and arguably a better engine. Definitely, in my opinion, a more usable engine. You know, the 4-cylinder is nice, but the 2-cylinder, it just has that bit more to it. Looks wise, you know, you can tell the Tracer had a bit more work done to it. Again, I don't dislike the look of the Phaser, but the lights, everything about it, more work has gone into the Tracer. You just can tell that. So for me, from a cost perspective, you know, this is a cheap 700 bike. This is kind of, if you were to put a comparison against another bike I reviewed, I think this bike and, for instance, the Zero Motorcycles DS, particularly the black version for us, the DS, which is 16,000 new, it's double the price of this bike. And this bike you can refuel in, what, about 5 minutes? So, you know, that's a big plus to this. So if you look at it that way, yeah, over 5 years, the DS would probably cost you less, but I guarantee you'd use that more. So cost-wise, I think it's a very, very reasonably priced motorbike. So this was a 2017 model with a very small amount of mileage on it. And in my opinion, it was a bargain, because, you know, what you want to do, if you want to add a nice exhaust, even if you call it an Akrapovic exhaust, it's an extra 1,000. You know, and the other few bits and pieces, even if you bring this bike up to the overall cost of €10,000, it's still a bargain. So, final thoughts on the 2017 Yamaha Tracer 700. I really like this bike. From an ergonomics perspective, definitely for a taller rider, I would change the seat just over long distance. Like I said, I have ridden this bike before, and over longer distance, it would definitely make your lower back come under pressure. But that's a simple change. You know, it's not much money to do this. So this model year as well ran from 2016 up to end of 2019, so call it 2020. But there is a new model introduced for next year, And if you were to ask me which one I'd buy between the two, I'd personally go for this one. I have sat on the newer Tracer 700 at Motorcycle Live recently, and I definitely prefer this bike, actually, believe it or not, even with the seat. But, you know, you'd get this bike with low mileage and kitted out for less than you'd buy a brand new Tracer 700, and I think that speaks volumes. This is still a new bike. Even if you buy first model year 2016, it's a new bike. 2016 is new. The handlebars, you know, your standard handlebars are perfect. I would not change a thing about them. All of the switch gear is good except that hazard warning light, which I know I've given out about on nearly every newer bike I've ridden recently, because they're all just that little bit out of reach. I don't know, is it because I have weird hands? But I don't think so. I think they're just badly placed. Pegs, excellent. You know, levers, excellent. All the other switch gear is excellent, and you have lots of protection from this windscreen. This is an aftermarket windscreen, but I know the standard windscreen still offers plenty of protection if that's what you're looking for. Power and torque wise, numbers on the screen now. I don't like to talk about the actual numbers that much. As I've said previously, it's more about how they feel on this bike, and they feel perfect. Low down power and torque is excellent. I don't care, you know, this will do 200 kilometers an hour flat out, but no one really uses that except maybe 5% of people. But you're not going to really be buying this bike to bring it on a track. Day-to-day riding in town, that low down torque is going to be lovely. Definitely preferable to something like a Phaser. And then you have plenty of power when you do move on. You know, keep up with other traffic, including the Phaser, as we found out earlier. Aesthetically, this bike, I really like it. I really like the look of it. Now, I do like Yamaha styling in general, but I think this bike in particular is really, really nice. So aesthetically, high score, definitely like it. I would add, myself, if I was to buy one, I would also add the spots. I think they'd just fill it out that bit more. And even, I think this particular style of top box suits this bike really, really, really well. Cost-wise, not expensive. You can buy ones with low mileage for a reasonable price, and you can hold on to them forever because those engines go forever. Those engines are tried and tested in the MT-07, the Tracer 700, and now also the Tenier 700. Yamaha have really, really gotten it right with that engine. Would I buy this bike? Absolutely. If I had €8,000 to go buy a kind of day-to-day, while still adventure-y bike, I would happily spend my money on a Tracer 700, especially after seeing how happy Kev has been with his one. Is it the perfect bike all around? No, but it's utilitarian. It does everything pretty well. It's not brilliant at anything, but it doesn't need to be. It's a daily bike that you can bring everywhere. Lots of options on it, and I know Kev is going to buy an exhaust very soon for it, so that'll also make it sound a lot better, because standard, that is probably the only thing I take away from it. It does sound a little bit asthmatic, like the Phaser, but that's not Yamaha's fault. That's European law's fault, so what can you do? You have to work with it. They'll move on eventually, hopefully, and just let us all have all the emissions we want, but I doubt it. Would I advise you buy this bike if you're my height? Yep, tall rider review, definitely just change the seat. It'll be perfect after that. For everyone else, would I advise buying this bike? Yep, absolutely. Would I advise buying this over a brand new Tracer 700? I don't see why not. You can buy these that still have factory warranties on them if they're in 2018, 2019. What's not to like? You know, you get an immediate saving of a couple of €1,000 that you can put into making the bike exactly how you like it. And that's about it. I think it's a great bike. So if you've watched, thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this review of this bike, which has taken me over 2 days to do. Just because I didn't like some of the footage I used last time. But anyway, we'll get over that. If you like my reviews, I have lots more in the playlist, so don't forget to check them out. Don't forget to hit the like button, because that actually feeds me now. I've given up on food. Don't forget to subscribe, as without it I will turn into a puddle of sadness. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you back here next time. Thanks very much for watching. Adios.